To go for you here now, so let me hold both your hands.
Guys, if you like the content and you want to show me some support, Neverhome is my brand. It's my brainchild, my baby I've had for 8 years. I am the most passionate person about making clothes for us to wear in the gym. If you get a chance, check out www.neverhome.com and show some love and support. This is one of my new tops coming out. That's Ronnie Coleman, designed as a monster on an oversized t-shirt. We've got our short shorts, we've got our caps, but the range is always expanding. And I want to say thanks if you've already made your purchase. Thank you very much. I love to see you support my brand. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back again. Scott Slayman, also known as The Mechanic, and myself, John Gorman, aka Johnny Star. I think this is episode 5 we're up to.
Yep.
We really enjoy doing these podcasts, and we're just doing Q&As. So you guys from Instagram send us questions, and we answer them. So should we have a bit of an update on life while we're here? Scotty, you've just moved house to a place pretty much on the beach, rooftop balcony, cinema room downstairs. Can we say that?
It's not that fancy, but
it's pretty fancy. I saw the place the other day. It was pretty nice. Congratulations on the move. And what else is happening? Nothing much really. Release.
It's been a little while, but back into action doing these things. I love it.
And consistently training, which has been good.
Yes.
I've been the same. Did a launch last Sunday. It's been flying. So thanks you guys for supporting. These jumpers have come out with the kangaroo pouch. Can you see the pouch in the video there, Sam? If I stand up, so can you see that there? See, that's right there. Put your headphones in there. Got the drawstring clip. It's insulated. Got the hats in. Some new trackies coming out. But we do these Q&As, and then on the back of that, we promote what we do. Scotty's coaching, my clothing, and we really love it. So that's why we love this stuff so much, and we thought, well, if we can monetize it and have fun at the same time, put content out, it's a win-win for everyone. So
why not?
And it was a guy in the gym yesterday.
Yeah.
Came up to me and he was speaking about our podcast. He goes, "Man, I really like the content." I'm like, "Thanks, bro. That was really good." So if you see us, say hi.
It's funny. I got a random person come up at a restaurant the other day and I've seen
really?
you. Yeah.
We got our egos. We're getting big heads now.
No, I'm actually surprised. I'm like, no, it wasn't me. I'm like, and then he's like, no, it was. I'm like, okay.
That's awesome. Yeah. All right, well, let's get into the questions while we're here.
All right.
So question number 1 is about calves, and someone just wants to know about calf growth and any tips you have.
Okay. I would say the biggest thing for calf growth would be range of motion and tempo. Too many times we see people load up the weight and not able to pause in the lengthened position. I'd say that would be the one key thing, if I could mention anything, would be not to get that bounce out of the bottom, because what's happening is we're getting the Achilles to take over and bouncing out of the bottom. We're not getting the muscle to initiate it. But if you get that loaded stretch, sink down to the bottom, hold it for 2-3 seconds, and then initiate into the contraction, you're going to get so much better growth with that. And then even at the end of your set, or even between sets, if you can do a loaded stretch under weight, I know you do that with your little sequence with calves, and that's worked well for you. You do that loaded stretch. I think that's a phenomenal way to do it.
Can I show the calves off in the video? Can we get these things out? Yeah, can you see those calves there in the video? Look at that. All right, so I think it's important to hit calves, and I hit them at least twice a week. And what I've found works for me is hitting them with a little bit of volume, because I feel like I walk on them all day. I might do 60 reps in a set, really lightweight. It just worked for me. Probably better ways to do it. And then, like you said, I do a weighted stretch, 35 seconds to a minute with pretty heavy weight. This is like on the standing calf machine. And then I'll rep it out just body weight, burn the things out. And then I might move to the seated calf machine. And that's all I do. I might train calves for 10 minutes intensely. Yeah. But it's brutal, absolutely brutal. Yeah. But I think with calves, I see too many guys going way too heavy because they're insecure about small calves. They're like, I've got to go heavy. I go the lightest weight on my calves.
Well, you can get quite a bit of benefit out of a low rep range as well. So you can get a benefit out of doing even 8 to 10 reps.
Oh, absolutely.
But again, if you're doing too heavy and you can't get a full range of motion, you can't pause in the stretch position, you're not going to get as much out of it. So
some guys are going too heavy and just doing a quarter rep.
Yeah.
And they're not getting the full range of motion. So try maybe dropping the weight.
Yeah, definitely.
Getting a full range. Just do something different. Because if you've got small calves, you probably Well, firstly, genetics play a big part. But secondly, do something you haven't done. It might work. You have to do different things to change it up.
Most definitely. They're like any other muscle group. They need to respond over mechanical tension and progressive overload. So get some tension on that freaking muscle, and slowly either add a rep or add some weight or some intensifiers, and stay consistent with it. And the other thing is, a lot of people might save them to the end of the workout, and they'll be like, yeah, and they just fluff around. Do them at the beginning of the workout when you're fresh. And when you're fresh, you're going to have a better neurological connection with the muscle too as well, because you're going to be sharper mentally. So do them at the beginning of the workout if you want. And you do them separately. You go and do them.
Yeah, I train them separately. So I train, if I do legs with you, I will do a separate workout where I'll do calves and abs on the same day. Or I just might do calves and abs just on an off day.
And for me, it's one of those things where I try to get there a little bit, like 10 minutes early.
You get there early and you smash it out.
Smash it out, and then you come. So
you need to have calves. I think it really completes the physique.
Definitely.
Calves. It's like the biceps of your arm. It's like your forearms almost.
Well, they talk about balanced physiques, and one of the old things was having your arms the same size as your calves.
I think my calves are bigger.
Yeah, my arms are bigger, but we like that proportion.
And then you can always get calf implants as a last resort.
There you go.
Do you ever watch Entourage?
Yeah.
Johnny, you get calf implants.
Awesome.
My favorite show. That's enough about calves, but yeah. And I hit them on all angles too. I don't know if that's necessary, but I point my toes in, straight and out, and it seems to work for me. But my old coach taught me that back in the day.
I think, if you want to get that meat out of the inside of your calf, think about keeping the weight under the ball of your foot as you come up to as well.
I also change shoes for calf workouts. Did you know that? I put my Dunlop volleys on, I loosen them up, and it allows me to get a better range of motion.
Some people do it barefoot.
I won't wreck the TNs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good idea.
So there's many things.
There's a few tips there.
Hope you get something out. Do you get anything out of that one with calves? Yeah. Okay. And I Theragun them too.
Yeah, okay, great.
I Theragun the shit out of my calves every second day. It's very painful.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you should try that. That is painful.
Yeah,
you get used to it.
Yeah, sweet.
All right, there's 10 minutes on calves, guys. Okay, benefits of having, great question. Benefits of having a non-training and training day macros as opposed to same macros 7 days.
Okay.
So changing your macros depending on days
you
train.
can have the same macros 7 days. There's nothing wrong with that.
Explain what macros are to new
So
viewers
this would be,
here.
well, we're talking about calories for one thing. So somebody's asking, would you have different calories on days you train versus rest
Non-trained
days?
Yeah.
Now, you are going to burn a few more calories training. Not a lot, not as many as you might think. But what we want to do is be able to fuel those workouts and fuel recovery. Now, I do notice that when you're training, you increase your insulin sensitivity, so your ability to utilize carbs around training is going to be more than any other time. So that might be a time where you have more carbs, maybe even intra-workout during your sessions, and that might be the difference between your training day and rest day, is even just the difference between, let's say, 50 to 70 grams of intra-workout carbs. Another time that you could very much benefit from different macros would be when you're dieting and calories are low, and when you have that rest day, you go real super low. You're not having to do a huge amount of output other than your steps and walks and cardio. And when you're training, you need a little bit more fuel. You might have a little bit more carbs pre-training or even intra-workout to help lower cortisol and fuel your sessions, replenish glycogen, even for the next workout. So there can be some benefits to that in that regard.
So on that, the only difference you'd have me on is just my intra-workout carbs.
Pretty much, yeah. Some people go massive difference.
Yeah.
Some people might have 1,000 calories difference between their training days and rest days. Well, I can tell you, you don't burn anywhere near 1,000 calories training, and so it's probably not necessary. It's got to come down to personal preference. Some people might find they have, even in a growth phase, they have a better appetite on days that they train, so they might be able to get more food in on training days, so that might be a benefit there. So
there you go, guys. Next question. What's the minimum amount of body fat you can retain and still make gains?
Okay. Well, we would love to be freaking shredded and grow at the same time. That would be ideal. But in order to put more muscle on, we need to be in a slight caloric surplus. So you can stay relatively lean. I don't want people to get fat because then they're going to lose that insulin sensitivity. They're going to have less ability to utilize those carbs in the muscle as they put them in. But we do need to have a little bit more food than we are burning. So that might be a little bit of surplus, and that might accrue a tiny bit of body fat. So just keep an eye on it. The weight should climb slightly. On the other hand, you don't want to throw in a ton of calories to try to grow so quickly, because you're only able to put on so much muscle every day, every week. If you're putting on a kilo or so every week, how much is that going to be muscle?
Fat,
a lot of it's going to be body fat, and that's not going to lead to great progress. So it's people. On the other hand, people chasing the scale weight, and I don't believe in that either.
Yeah, slow and steady. I think I was talking about it with you. Was it last night before we did this? I only put in on a couple kilos a year, and I've managed to stay pretty lean.
Oh man, I remember when you did that photo shoot. It was about a year and a half ago. You were low 80s.
Yeah,
81.
I think I got down to very first 81. Yeah,
and then now you're what, about 94, 93?
And with clothes on, yeah, it's like 9. It's really about 92.
But if you got into that condition now, you'd probably be about, I'd say
86?
about 86.
Yeah,
So that's about 5 kilos, 4 kilos,
Yeah.
5 kilos in a year. That's a decent amount. But if you break that down over the course of the year, how much is that per week?
How much?
Maybe 100 grams?
Yeah, that's where the consistency is so
So,
important.
if somebody's trying to gain a kilo a week, you don't want that. But if you can gain a few hundred grams a week in body weight as you're growing, not all of that's going to be muscle.
Yeah.
But we want a large percentage of it to be muscle. So it's a fine line. You can't stay completely shredded all the time and grow.
No.
But there's got to be a
So
balance.
body
You got to give a little bit.
I think people try to. I see people like, I'm going to put on 15 kilos next year. I'm like, no, you're not.
Well, they can, but how much of it's muscle? Exactly.
Like if you shred down,
Yeah.
you might be lucky to put on 3.
I've seen that happen. Guys putting 20, 30 plus kilos between shows, and they pull it back down, and they've maybe put on a couple kilos, because the more body fat that you acquire, the more you've got to diet harder to get rid of that body fat to leave the muscle, and you might lose some muscle if you're dieting just stupid hard.
So do you think the best way is to just, as I say, main gain, just be in a slight surplus, hold a little bit of fat? I just wash a bit off all the time too. I do that.
Yeah, I think you could stand to put on a little bit more weight. Like as far as
You definitely could.
I think you could push it a little bit further, but I know you like to stay. You do shoots, clothing line.
Good for my content too.
As well, 100%.
And because I wear a suit every day, I
I
don't want my weight to fluctuate too
You'd
much.
have to have 2 sets of wardrobes.
Yeah,
summer to winter.
yeah. I'm already ripping my suit pants, man. And that shit gets expensive.
Exactly.
So I could definitely put a bit more fat on, but
like you were saying, you were about to say the best way.
what's the best way?
Yeah,
you
it would
think,
be to
sustainably.
to sustainably slowly accrue more muscle tissue. If you start getting to the point where you're getting too soft, like you do, you can do a little mini cut, and that's what those purposes are for.
Yeah.
Pull it down quickly, and then start pushing things up again.
And I still, now that I'm in a surplus, I'm doing a little bit of HIIT. Might be once a week.
Yeah.
But that's just good for my heart health.
Absolutely.
Plus, keeps me better in the bedroom.
Best
You know
time.
what I mean, a bit of fitness, guys.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. Do a bit of HIIT, which is high intensity interval training, where you might do. I'm doing 20 seconds hard, a minute off, 20 seconds hard,
In the
a minute
bedroom?
off. After the podcast,
Oh,
with you. In the bathroom downstairs. But on the bike or on the rower or something
Okay,
like that,
gotcha.
get my heart rate up.
Yeah, gotcha.
But I feel like that keeps my heart healthy.
Yes.
Because you got to do a bit of cardio. In my opinion. Okay. Next one. That was a good question. Here's a great question. So, do you have any tips on controlling your stomach and keeping a small waist?
Well, this kind of goes hand in hand with what we just spoke about,
Yeah.
is not putting too
much
much weight
food.
on too quickly. Because if you're pounding in ridiculous amount of calories, along with other potential
Insulin growth test.
beds, whatnot,
Yeah.
you're going to blow your midsection out. So we don't want to gain weight too quickly in that regard either. So we got to keep the food very gradual, keep the stomach under control, keep inflammation down as well. So think about foods that are going to be inflammatory. And so, you don't want to be eating shit foods that are going to inflame the gut.
Can you give us an example of something that might do
Well,
that?
if you're eating, like think about if you eat pizza and burgers and all this kind of food, think about the bloating and inflammation that you get in your digestive system from that. So that's not going to be ideal. And then also, I would say also to keep control over your actual abdomen is vacuums. And that's basically where you blow all your air out, draw your belly button.
Very difficult.
Yeah, and it works what's called the TVA, the transverse abdominis.
Yeah.
And that acts like almost like a belt in itself, so that holds your abdominals in. Now, genetics will play a role of how your waist actually looks, but if you can control that, especially if you're a competitive bodybuilder, if you can control that between your poses on stage, you know, by practice, you don't have to do a vacuum on stage, but if you practice your vacuums in the off season,
Doing one now.
if you practice your vacuums in the off season, you'll be able to control them when you're training. You'll be able to control them when you're posing, and it's going to give you that shrink wrap waist look, but it's not going to change the actual structure of your pelvis and things like that.
You want to have, if you're going to, when I was doing posing, or when I see Johnny for the posing, he talk about the control of the stomach and breathing and holding it in. And you got me to do vacuums.
Yeah.
So I'd lean over a table or bench, blow all my air out, suck it in as hard as I can, a little bit of air in there too, just so I can actually survive. And I might only get 15 to 20 seconds.
And you can do progressive overload on your vacuums too.
Yeah, you do get better with it over time.
You can do sets.
It's painful.
You can do sets of 10, like 3 sets of 10 seconds, up to 12 seconds, whatever it might be. And if you don't remember, like when should you do vacuums, you could do them 1 or 2 times. You could do them in between your ab exercises. So you could do your, you know, your rectus abdominis, and then you could do your transverse abdominis between that by doing your vacuums. Or another thing I suggest is just do it in the shower. You know, you have a shower every day. You know, while you're washing your hair, I got no hair to wash, but while you're washing your hair, just practice your vacuums while your conditioner's doing setting, you know?
The last time we had a shower together, you weren't doing the vacuums.
No.
We're too busy.
You're a dick.
So vacuums, keeping a smaller waist, don't overeat, don't smash too much insulin and growth. That's these bodybuilders these days. You see these bigger guts, but now it's going. Everyone's drawing it back in now.
Exactly.
I think.
And it's not, you know, like some of these guys, you see them actually get smaller waist because they're practicing it, and they're holding it and controlling it on stage too as well. So.
What if you have like just a wider hips in general as a bloke? Would you say there's only so much you can do? Would you focus on getting bigger delts and a bigger back to have the illusion of having a smaller waist as well?
Most definitely. The wider your back is, the smaller your waist is going to look 100%.
So if you got bigger, like if you got 34, 36 inch waist or whatever it is around your hips, look at it and go, if I want the illusion of having a smaller waist, don't overeat, and let's focus on bigger delts, bigger back, bring that V-taper in.
Practice your vacuums and practice your posing and
you can hit a pose side on.
You can definitely do it.
And you can manipulate it too.
100%.
The way you look, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's all an illusion, bodybuilding, isn't it?
Yeah.
Good answers. I hope that helps. Very, very good questions. All right. Okay, here's a great question. So what's your thoughts on training without proper nutrition before training in the morning? So I think what he's trying to say is training fasted.
Yeah. So training with weights fasted, in my opinion, isn't ideal.
Yeah.
But see, sometimes when you get up in the morning, you're not hungry and you just want to get to the gym and train. So you don't have time to eat something, let it digest, and then go train. So my biggest suggestion in that case would be intra-workout nutrition. So you could have something like the cyclodextrin intra-workout with your essential aminos. You may have some creatine, some electrolytes, or even just some sea salt in there for hydration. And that's going to help give you some energy, lower your cortisol levels, drive glycogen into the muscle, especially during those times that you're most insulin sensitive. So we have that, and then afterwards you can eat something light, and you're good to go. Another option would be just to do something like I do like a whey protein isolate, put that in water over some rice bubbles, and that's so light,
easy to digest.
Easy to digest.
I was going to ask you that question. What would you recommend?
I'm ready to train within a half an hour after that.
That quick? Yeah.
Yeah, but if I like beef and potatoes or something like that, I need a couple hours at least.
No way. Yeah.
So
that's too heavy.
It depends on, somebody say, how long should I eat before you train? It depends on the person, and it depends on what you eat. If you're eating these heavy, fatty meals that slows down digestion, it's going to take a long time. But if you eat something super light and easy to digest, it won't take long.
Would you, so if you were to have a pre-workout meal in the morning, whey protein isolate in water over some rice bubbles, easy to digest, and maybe if you have an hour, would you recommend maybe cream of rice with some eggs mixed through?
Yeah, they do that too. Yeah, that's pretty light too. Yeah.
That's good. See, when I would train in the morning, I just go fasted. But I usually have a meal at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
every morning. I get up and have my every single morning, 2 or 3 a.m. I have a meal.
Yeah.
My body's just accustomed to getting up and eating.
That's crazy.
So I think it's normal now. So I go and have.
And look, you know, I wouldn't recommend that to people.
I just wake up starving.
But if you wake up and you eat and you go back to sleep and you feel good, great. That works for you. I wouldn't suggest people watching to set their alarm for 2 a.m.
I just do it
because
I'm hungry,
sleep is going to be more important. You know, it's like stepping
food.
over dollars to pick up pennies, you know, so focus on the sleep. I see guys do that as well. They're like, you know, they need to eat X amount of food, right? So what they're doing is they're staying up another couple hours to get an extra meal in. No, don't. Like sleep or if on the other hand, let's say they need to get more steps in, they're setting the alarm for, you know, they're missing out on a couple hours of sleep just to get more steps. Sleep is going to be beneficial for muscle growth, for fat loss, so many things. So don't neglect sleep over trying to get food in or trying to get cardio in either of those scenarios. If you're trying to put weight on or you're trying to get lean, sleep.
That's one thing I am focusing on now. It's working really well. Okay, next question, Mr. Slayman, the mechanic. How many weeks do you need to work with a coach before you start prep? Now, depends what your definition of prep is.
Prep would be somebody's talking about prepping for a show, and generally, you know,
12 weeks,
people take
20 weeks.
I don't like to put a number on it because everybody's starting point is different. You know, I've got some people that take 24 weeks to, you know, of prep, of pulling food down. You know, that's 6 months.
Yeah.
I've got some people that take, you know, they can do it in 8 weeks, and everything in between. So, you know, what's most important is the position that you start prep in. So I think you need to see a coach to make sure that you're in a good position to start and when you need to start. So ideally, when you start prep, you should be at kind of the peak of your calories. So eating a lot of food, processing them well, and in a reasonably lean position. So you still got visible abs, you know, you're feeling good, and then we're able to pull something from. So if somebody's eating too little food and then they want to start prep, there's nowhere to go from. And the other thing is, think about when you're prepping, you're not going to be growing muscle tissue. You're going to be holding on to muscle tissue. With a good coach, you can hold on to most all your muscle tissue when you get lean. But what was I going to say here? The off season is where we make the most progress. This is where, if you need to bring up a weak body part, you know, if you need to you know, change your physique in some major way, this is when you do it, when you're in a surplus of food. So, you know, some people come to me, they're, you know, let's say they're in prep. Okay, I want to really bring up my traps or whatever it might be. Well, should have thought about that when you're eating more food.
Yeah, it's a good point. The off seasons where you're going to build the physique, and the prep is just really just dialing it in.
Exactly right.
There's the last 5-10 weeks, and the mindset for it.
Yeah.
So how many weeks do you need to work with a coach before you start prep? 20 weeks, a year?
Well, I mean, ideally, you're working with somebody in the off season as well.
Yeah.
I've done a couple things with some people where somebody's, you know, wanted to work with me and said, look, I don't want to start with you till I start my actual prep. I said, well, let's do a few consults at least along the way.
Probably a financial thing as well. For
Yeah,
them.
definitely. So I've been able to acclimate for them and gone, okay, well, let's do an initial consult and see where you're at right now, give you some direction, what we need to be, something in between to make sure you're still there. And so that when we start prep, we're in a good position.
Touching on that too, this is not a question, but we're trying to figure out a way where we can put out Scotty's knowledge with my presentation abilities, just through being a real estate agent behind the camera all the time, for a wider audience as well. So stay tuned, but that might be months away still, but we're looking for help where we can provide a good quality service for people who, because you can't really take any more clients on at this stage, realistically.
It's
time consuming because like you're at that high level, but we're trying to scale it where it's actually, it's not, it'll almost have to be a little bit cookie cutter, but some really detailed training clips, explanations, diet stuff to help the people who probably aren't at that level where they need to get on stage just yet.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're excited about that, and we're trying to find the right people to help us, but I think we're nearly there. We've narrowed it down to a couple that we're negotiating with. So stay tuned for that, and that'll be something that it will just be we've been speaking about for a while, but we're trying to figure that out. So
We want to help as many people as we can.
and we want to make it affordable,
Yeah.
and beneficial for everyone too.
I mean, people even come, like, think about the feedback they have with the podcast with these.
Yeah.
They go, man, I've learned so much. I mean, we're just scratching the surface, giving little, 1-minute answers to a multitude of questions. Imagine if we could go into more detail or have, some more specifics, or be in the gym showing
Yeah, we're in the
movements
gym
and things like
together.
that as well. So might as well put some quality stuff out and
Platform it, maybe
Yeah.
an app or something.
yeah.
So that's exciting. Here's a great one, Mr. Slayman, and this is for both of us. How do you motivate yourself to train when you're running low on energy or motivation? We spoke about this last time a bit, but we'll bring it up again because someone did put that question in. So, do you want me to start with the
Yeah, go
answer?
for it.
Yeah, so these stats might be wrong, but from my memory, it's going to take the average person 27 days of consistency to build a habit. So I thought, okay, I've got to just do something for a month to just create that habit. But that's for all habits, bad ones too. So if you start rocking up for late work for a month, you're probably going to be late all the time. So for me to get up and do cardio in the mornings, even on off season, I just do it because it's become a habit. I just get out of bed, clothes are there, I take a pre-workout, I go, and then I listen to a book or whatever. But I had to create these habits, and then at the start it wasn't easy, but I've had to push myself, just get the fuck up and do it, and I know I feel better after it. The motivation thing, when you're lacking motivation, look, you're not going to be motivated all the time. I had a rough week last week, right? Mentally, it was tough, but I pushed through. I also went to the gym. I had to keep showing up, and even yesterday I had a rough day, but I trained, and after I trained, I felt better. So I know if I keep training, just the movement of the body will make me feel better. So, and it just might not be for you. You might just be the normal person walking around Coles, and you're never going to be fit. That just might be who you are. You have to click. It's truth. It's as harsh as it is. You might just never be that person. You have to want it bad enough and seek the knowledge like I have. Like, I grew up not knowing shit. So did you. We're just born on this planet. What do we know? Nothing.
Yeah.
But we wanted it bad enough. And I always wanted to have a good physique. So I see coaches. I've had heaps of coaches, spent hundreds of thousands on this stuff, bought steroids here and there, injected this and that, and learned. I made a lot of mistakes. Had gyno surgery, had body dysmorphia, torn shit up, trained too hard, overtrained. Like, you learn, but I keep persisted with it because it made me really happy. So what's the answer to this? Fuck, it might be in it, or you might not have it. It might just not be you.
Well, you can find something, if you're wanting to be, fit and healthy, there might be an avenue that you can do that's not necessarily in the gym that's going to get you there. It might be rock climbing. I don't know what it might be something that you
this
could
is
do.
training. You're right. This could be any training. So sorry, I cut you off. Keep going.
Well, I'm just thinking, of people that really just hate the gym.
It's not for everyone.
It's not for everyone. But if you tolerate it enough, it then becomes about discipline. I mean, there can be times that even for guys that love the gym, there's times where you're not motivated to go. And that's normal. If you, like, even pro bodybuilders, they're not always motivated. It's their job, though.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, some of the guys with the best genetics, they could potentially take it for granted because it comes fairly easy. But they still have to show up and do it and keep up the discipline of doing it. This is not the motivation. It's the discipline of staying consistent and building that habit. And it's not negotiable. It's like, shit, I don't feel like brushing my teeth every day,
Wow.
But if I didn't, it's not gonna be a good result.
Guys, another quick break. Hope you're enjoying the episode. Whatever you're watching this on, whatever platform, if you get a chance, please give us a review and subscribe to all our channels. Let's get back to the episode. You know what you should do is say, I'm blessed because I train with you.
Yeah.
This is my training partner. We're training partners. So we'll say we've got to be at gym at 1 p.m. or 6 p.m. I can let myself down, but I won't let him down before me.
Yeah.
So I'll always be there.
He's always on time.
And I might be filling up petrol. I might be 5 minutes behind or whatever. But I will never let my training partner down because I'd rather let myself down first because I too much respect for you. So maybe if you can find a person, it's hard to find.
It's hard to find because it can go the other way too. You find a training partner, and they can
fuck you up.
They can fuck you up, and it becomes more frustrating than anything. If they're always like, "Oh no, let's do this instead," or "Let's go,"
Maybe if you guys can link up through our social and find someone at the gym, because if you can find someone like me or someone like Scott, it'll change your life.
Yeah, because usually there might be, fortunately for both of us, we both have a strong mindset in getting after the training and encouraging each other. Because sometimes it's been out there where it's one-sided. Have you ever trained with somebody where you're trying to, as a coach or as a trainer, when I was training people in the gym, my job, I would get paid to motivate and push people through their sessions, right?
Yeah.
And then sometimes I go and I train with somebody and I'm doing it to them and I'm like, hang on, I'm not getting paid for this and I get nothing coming back, right? Yeah. Whereas this is why I enjoy training with you, is because
we do have fun,
because
though.
I motivate and push you, hopefully, say the right things, and
of course you do, yeah. You
and then you push my buttons on the way back and give me that motivation to, or not say motivation, but give me that. Yeah, I should say it's something that makes me want to go harder and do more than I would normally do on my own, let's say. But
the other day is like, what did you say the other day? You're like, you're feeling a bit unwell. I'm like, I'm not going to train hard today. I'm like, shut the fuck up. Yes, you are. It's the dumbest thing I heard you say. Then you did about 30 reps on the, what was that machine? The hip press?
Yeah.
Like you went balls to the wall and nearly died.
Yeah.
You just go hard when we're together. It's just what we do. You can't not, right?
It's all or nothing.
So this motivation thing, it's been a long answer, but the people you surround yourself with are going to make or break you. That's what I fucked up with the drug use, because I was too friendly, get along with the drug dealers. It's all too easily accessible. Your friends, you can push it. It's very easy because of the personality I am. So I had to get away from those people, and you actually have to actively get into a circle of people you want to be around, because you will become, as cliche as it sounds, you got to become who you be around. Look how much I've progressed since I've been with you, Scotty, now, compared to, imagine I did all this shit when I started training. I would be miles ahead of where I'm at, because I'm making progress now. But I had to actively reach out and find you, and then you helped me out so much. But I wouldn't be where I'm at if I wasn't hanging around Scott. Tell me what to do. Eat this, eat that, don't do this. This is going to give you bloating. Do this, blood work, take this, take that. Don't take Deco, make you depressed. All that shit, right? I didn't know, but I actively searched for it. I found it, and now I'm surrounding myself with you. And then I get to meet all these other pros that you're coaching too. Like all these other guys, I meet them and I'm like, fake, what? We're all the same now. We're in this similar mindset, but that's who I'm surrounding myself with. It's just become the norm. So it's like, you got to get out of the norm of the guys playing Xbox and whatever they're doing. Nothing wrong with that. But if you want to level up, maybe change your circle, or if you can't find it, motivate yourself, get to the gym on your own.
And I know that you'd even do that on the business aspect of it too. You've got some, even in real estate, some of the people you're around, very successful. And you are going to become like the people that you surround yourself with. So it's great advice. And you've helped me tremendously as well. So
yeah, 100%. You need to surround yourself with winners.
Thanks again.
And even with Kyle in this podcast.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm pushing the business so much is because I've seen him interviewing. Well, is that okay? I've seen him interviewing. How's that shirt look? Pretty good. All these other people with brands, and I'm like, wait a second, that inspired me to push mine more. And I'm like, fuck, I got the sickest brand. I can do this. I just got to figure it out. The answers are out there. The people are out there.
Absolutely.
Well, there's a long answer to that. Hope that helps you out. We got time still? Plenty more time. Okay. Are we good? Are we good? Is this all set up nicely? Okay. Next question. Good question. Are you going to introduce guests on the podcast? It'd be great to see some of the OGs on.
Yeah, I think between the two of us, we have a circle that's some pretty cool, exciting people, and why not? Let us know if there's anybody you want to see. If you want to.
Can you get Dr. Scott Stevenson on the show?
Well, he's in Florida, but we could potentially get him.
Can you link up like?
He actually
satellite link?
agreed
Can we
to do
this?
a podcast. So
yeah, let's. Can you everyone tag him? We'll do a reel. I've become a big fan because of you.
Yeah.
You know, And he wrote that book of How to Become Mr. Olympia.
Be your own bodybuilding coach. One of the best books out there. If you want to learn everything there is to know about bodybuilding, get Be Your Own Bodybuilding Coach by Dr. Scott Stevenson. And there's so much valuable information in there, man. Like he's absolutely brilliant. I listen to all his podcasts.
He's got no ego.
No, he's just about, looking at the clinical trials between, we're talking about nutrition, PEDS, training, and applying it to athletes, applying it to himself, and just sharing that knowledge. He just has such a passion about this. So Scott, if you're watching this, we'll get you on here.
See, Scott's turned me into a fan of yours, Scott. Other OGs, look, I know a lot of guys through this scene because I've been in it for ages. I can get a few on here. Should get Chesty on. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
So we will.
Patrick, Fabrizio.
Yeah.
Ali.
Ali's fun. I like that. Fabrizio's cool. Patrick.
Yeah.
Me, it'll be yourself, Fabrizio, Ali, Patrick, Chesty. Like all the boys should be in.
Yep.
It'll just be a laugh.
Yep. I don't know if we talk about training or what, but
There'll be no training talk. Okay. When are you cutting to lose? When you are cutting, next question. When you're cutting, do you lose any strength, or is it best to train for a pump or heavy on a cut? So how should you train on a cut?
Okay.
Should it change?
So when you're dieting down, our goal is to maintain as much muscle as we possibly can. So too many people will pull down their training, their intensity or the weight, thinking they just want to chase a pump or burn calories. But think about what put the muscle on in the first place. And that's heavy weight. So keep the weight as heavy as you possibly can without injury. So you want to keep tension in the muscle. That's what's going to hold the size. What we might need to do is pull back the volume a little bit. I know that sounds a little counterintuitive if we're trying to get ready for something, but our recovery capabilities aren't going to be as great when we're eating less food. Strength might suffer a tiny bit. It shouldn't suffer much. So our goal is if you're able to maintain your strength while you're getting rid of body fat, I can guarantee you're holding on to muscle. You might lose a little strength, but you should be able to maintain most of it. And if you're just going to be pumping the weights around and not lifting heavy, the chances of losing muscle are going to be much greater. So keep the weight in, pull the volume down a little bit to allow for more recovery.
Yeah, definitely. So that's what I learned from you whenever I get leaner, keep the volume down so you can actually recover because the food's down.
Yeah, I made that mistake, when I used to
I'll do more.
I used to think, nobody's going to outwork me. I'm going to go harder. I'm going to go more. I'm going to train more. And the recovery capabilities just weren't there. Just smash yourself into the ground. Nervous system's just wrecked because you have less food. So I'd even pull back on things like giant sets and supersets because that's actually going to not do a better job of putting on muscle, but it's going to fatigue you more.
I was just checking the camera's all right.
Yeah.
So don't worry about the pump.
It's always fun, but it's not going to grow
Unless
muscle.
you're taking selfies. Then the pump's extremely important. And in this social media world we live in, let's be realistic. The pump's everything, especially in the bedroom. Scotty, here's a good one. Can you go over, very good question, the health markers you check and why for blood work?
Okay, blood work, very important to get that done.
So explain to people what blood work is. they might not know. Like when I ask these dumb questions too, it's only because I'm seeking an answer for you from Scott, yeah?
Well, especially if somebody's taking PEDS, we need to look at all health markers. Now, first, I'm going to preface what situation we need to get our blood work done in. And this would be preferably fasted because some markers like your fasting blood glucose and cholesterol levels and all that are going to be impacted by food. So want to get your blood work done fasted in a very hydrated state. So drink plenty of water before you get your bloods done because being dehydrated will negatively affect some things like your hematocrit levels and some kidney markers. So we don't want to be dehydrated either. Another factor would be to at least rest at least a day off from the gym prior to getting bloods done, because training itself induces some muscle damage, which could show up on other markers. For example, some liver enzymes, ALT, AST, those enzymes are also found in skeletal muscle. And if you've trained hard, those could be elevated just from the muscle damage occurring. So some people need to take 4 or 5 days off before training to get those down to a normal level. It can also affect creatinine kinase, which could look like something might be off. But as far as what markers to check, we look at CBC or FBE, which is full blood examination, looking at all your red blood cell count. Sometimes hematocrit levels and hemoglobin can rise. So that can make your blood a little bit more thick. We need to keep an eye on that. We look at all your liver markers like ALT, AST, GGT. We look at your cholesterol. Sometimes with PEDs, you can see your good cholesterol, HDL, drop too low. We look at fasting blood glucose, insulin levels. We don't want to create an environment where we're starting to get insulin resistance. Gosh, there's so many things that we look at. But the main thing is that you do it. We want to do it, in a healthy environment. And then you also want to get bloods done when you might be pushing the most stuff. Some people, wait till they come off everything, and of course the bloods are going to look all right. But do it while you're in the thick of things, right? You want to see how your body's coping with some of that stress from outside influences. Also, make sure you get your blood pressure done. That's going to be a huge factor for your overall health. That's another thing I have all my clients do is blood pressure at least twice a week, just to keep an eye on that. And if you're getting older, get get your heart checked, get an echocardiogram.
Is that where you go through the big circle thing, or is that something
That's
else?
a CT. Also the CT calcium score.
Yeah.
That's that's going to check the calcification you might have on your arteries. So I want to check that. CT calcium score and also echocardiogram. That's going to be like an ultrasound of your heart. That's going to check if there's any left ventricular hypertrophy. So if any of the heart walls are thickening, it's going to check your ejection fraction rate, how your heart's pumping blood, and get an eye on all that kind of stuff, because we don't want to sacrifice our health. I tell you, it all seems fun now to train and be great, but
Nothing more important.
if you're in the
than health.
hospital with heart issues, I promise you will think, what the fuck have I done? Like, it will be a wake-up call.
It's not worth it, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a very good answer. So if someone wants to get their blood work done, there's specialists out there you can seek. I know if you don't have the answer, you might go to someone else to get a second opinion.
Yeah. There are websites out there that you can get, because sometimes some doctors, you might want all these things done. You might want your test levels, SHBG levels, free test levels, estradiol levels, prolactin, all these things. And they might say, well, what do you need all that for? And it's sometimes sometimes very difficult to get that done. There are some websites that will do all those things, and you can get your results emailed. And if something's off, please do see a medical professional. I'm not a medical professional. Please see someone that can interpret these for you if there's something that you need to look at further, and get things like if you need to get a scan on your liver, or if you need to get something looked into on a more in-depth place. Don't be afraid to.
And the answers is in the blood work for all this stuff that we're doing. So I'm due.
Yeah.
I'm due for something soon. My next couple of days off.
I just had blood work done a few days ago. Got everything back. Test levels are 25, which is in the normal range. So everything's looking good there.
You better change that.
Normal's fine.
Let's keep going. What time, just a simple question here, what time do you usually go to sleep, and when do you wake up?
Okay, so I usually put the kids to sleep about 9 o'clock.
Yeah, just give them a belting. Boy, go to bed, boys. Get in bed.
I read my boy 7 books last night. They were short books, but like
7?
Dr. Seuss, Bluey, like that many different books. He just didn't want to go to bed. And yeah, once we finish that, then I'm back into check-ins.
Yeah.
And I find I can be pretty productive between 9 and 11. I know that's most people are unwinding and watching a series or something at that time.
Yeah.
I find I can be, get a lot of work done in those 2 hours. I know that's putting, sometimes I put my blue light blocking glasses on when it gets a little bit later, so I'm not getting that screen light. And then I probably go to bed about midnight, try to unwind a little bit after that. And I'm up about 7:30 or so. And then taking the kids to school and doing it all over again.
Need some downtime.
Nah, I can't. I get anxious.
I'm going away for the long weekend to Mornington,
Awesome.
so that's good.
What about your schedule?
So yeah, mine's very weird because I'm a real estate agent. I usually work 6 days a week. Try to have Sundays off, but I've been working a few Sundays. But I'm really doing two things at once because I do my real estate and the Neverhome. And Neverhome just runs from my house. I pack orders at the moment every night, multiple orders, and I'll take them to the post office. It's slow and steady. But I usually try to take a nap every day in the afternoon because my office is close to home. I'll try to get an hour in to bank up some sleep. At the moment, I'm probably going to bed around 11, getting up around 7.
Yeah,
So
cool.
7, 8 hours all up. I do get my sleep, especially now in prioritizing sleep, and I feel a lot better. So yeah, roughly those hours, and I'll get up in the morning, have a yogurt, go back to sleep, but nothing's really set every day. There's nothing too exciting there. Here's a cool question. Financial questions. I think we'll answer this one. How much should I save after each paycheck?
Well, I think that probably depends how much you make. No, but
Yeah.
you've been around the finance industry for a long time, obviously doing, looking at financing for loans and everything like that. What's your recommendation on that side?
Well, I think this is a younger person who's put this question in. I'm no financial expert at all, but pay yourself first before you do anything. So if you get your fortnightly pay or weekly pay, put a small percentage away and just act as though you've never had it, and then figure out how you can invest that. Or you might want to start a business like I did, Neverhome, or save for a deposit, but just put a little bit away as if you never had it, and just hide it into an account you can't access, and speak to your parents or get some advice, but go off a percentage more than how much. So it might be 10 or 20%. Just go realistic, try and save 10%. Because if you work for 10 or 20 years and you do that, you want to have a little bit of money there for a buffer. And then if you want really good financial advice, because everyone's trying to be a whiz tech, ultra entrepreneur, billionaire by tomorrow, I think you need to watch a guy called Dave Ramsey. He taught me a lot. Once I started watching Dave Ramsey, so DAVE space RAMSEY. If you get anything from this podcast, watch his stuff on YouTube. And he has a few steps you can follow that can set you up. And he just tries to teach you to have like $1,500 saved in an emergency account for an emergency. If you have that little buffer there, because things are going to pop up in life, like some dishwasher will break or whatever it is, but you want to have a little buffer and then work towards his steps. But go for a percentage and then...
Yeah, I think there's even... I've seen those things with percentages where people say, look, you should only spend X percentage of your income on a car, for example. Don't go over that. Like, don't be buying these cars that you can't afford. Don't be, I can't remember the actual percentage, but, think about that. Like, people want to flaunt stuff and show off, but, man, it's...
Yeah, I went through that.
Yeah.
When I was younger, I always had leasing cars. I don't even own a car now. I don't even have a car because I'm trying to save up and put money back into the business. And go on holidays. I like going on holidays. That's important to me. I just booked Korea. I'm going to Korea. I'm going away this long weekend. That's what's important to me at the moment. But the best advice for financial things is living within your means. If you can live within your means, then you'll have a much more stress-free life. It's good to want these things. Like, I want nice shit. Like, I work hard because I really want to have everything I can possibly get my hands on. I want it. Like, there's nothing wrong with wanting material stuff. It's okay. Like, you can strive for that too, but you got to live within your means to get there, I think, first. So don't leverage yourself so hard where you can put yourself under a lot of pressure and stress to get these material things, especially if you just want to impress other people. Yeah,
Okay.
cool. And the last question is, Scotty, what is your view on reps in reserve, RIR?
Okay, I'm not a huge fan of reps in reserve. The reason being is a lot of people misjudge where their actual failure point would be. Now, reps in reserve is when you leave, let's say 3 RIR would be 3 reps short of failure. A lot of people don't know where their true failure point is. Sometimes I'm taking people through workouts, they go to stop, I'm telling them one more. They end up getting an extra 10 reps. They thought they had a lot less. And when you leave those reps in the tank, you leave the effective ones. Now, the effective reps is when the weight starts slowing down and you keep pushing on. Now, generally, most times, if you go into failure, you're gonna have about 4 or 5 really good effective reps before failure. Now, if you're leaving those on the table before you actually get to failure, you're leaving a lot. So I would definitely prefer to go closer to failure.
Perfect. Sorry.
Reps. And you got to produce some decent results out of that. On the other hand, let's say someone was doing those 10 exercises, but they were doing, let's say 4 sets per movement, but they were stopping. Let's say they were programmed in, let's say 3 RIR, right? 3 reps in reserve, but they were actually doing, let's say 4 reps in reserve because they misjudged. So they were only getting 1 effective rep per set. Now, let's say they did 10 exercises, 4 sets each, that's 40 sets. They were getting 40 effective reps versus someone that's only done 10 sets for the whole workout getting 50 effective reps. Now, I don't know about you, I'd rather do the hard stuff, make it more effective rather than just accumulating a lot more volume that is going to impede your ability to recover and not be able to get those effective reps as efficiently.
So it's quality.
Absolutely.
Looking for quality. So you were speaking before about the analogy of marathon runners versus sprinters. Do you want to touch on
I know
that?
Mike Menser made the analogy. He said you can either run far or you can run fast.
Can't do both.
And it's kind of like the faster you run, the less further you can run. So it's kind of like training. The harder you train, the less you actually can train, the less you need to train.
Beautiful. Well, I did that workout yesterday after watching some Mike Menson speaking to you. I trained for 25 minutes, intense, and I felt like that was enough. And then sometimes we'll do legs, and I'll do a set on whatever the leg exercise is. It'll be some hack squat or hip press, and I'll do balls to the wall, and you're like, that's it. That's all you need. And my legs are getting better. Look at the last 2 years, how much my legs have grown.
Absolutely.
Imagine another 3 years. Fuck. I don't need bigger pants. That's
And
what
as
I
you-
need
as
to be so
you-
stretchy, Carl.
As you get stronger and you're doing more reps or more weight, that's going to increase your volume accordingly as well. So you're actually increasing your volume by doing more aggressive overload.
So reps in reserve, not big advocates.
No,
It's
I
hard to
would actually
gauge.
prefer to use, let's say, RPE, that's rate of perceived exertion. So you could rate that. So if you went all the way till you couldn't move, that might be a 10 reps rate of perceived exertion. If you feel like you left some, that might be, an 8 or a 9. So I'd rather use that than actual reps in reserve.
And just on that too, when you're doing reps, you might be fucking around getting 10 with poor form, momentum, bouncing out, like just to hit that number. Do you know what I mean? To hit those extra reps to beat last week's, but you might not be recovered. There's a lot to it.
Absolutely.
So-
So those reps need to be standardized as well. So not be swinging and carrying on. You want to keep as much tension in the muscle for those last, let's say, 4 or 5 reps. Those are going to be the most effective. So
Beautiful.
put everything into it.
Well, I think that answers all our questions. Let's wrap it up. If you want more information, follow Scott on Instagram, which is Scott Slayman, @Scott Slayman. Mine's Johnny_star. Check out the clothes. The new stock's out. Those are sold out in large already. I think we've got a couple of these left, the 23 shirts, the Ronnie Coleman shirts, the oversized jumpers, which, Kyle, this one's for you. Thank you so much. There you go. You can wear that in your next podcast. I've just broken the set here. Sorry about that. But thanks again. We'll see you in the next podcast. We'll shoot in a couple of weeks. So we need more questions. Really appreciate your help. Big thanks to Scott for all your help, because I couldn't have done this without him, and all your coaching and your guidance. Thanks for coming up to us and thanking us for the content. We appreciate it. Thanks to Kyle and the team here too for helping out.
Pivotal Conversations,
Pivotal
yes.
Conversations has made this easy for us. So I want to give them a shout out too. If you want to do a podcast, hit up Kyle, Pivotal Conversations. We just rock up. We come into the studio. It's edited in literally, I think the last one was like 3 or 4 hours. Like it was literally that quick. They say 24 hours, but they edit them live. Then we get the content here. And we love, if you want to do podcasts, this is where you do them. I don't have to buy cameras, didn't have to buy any of this shit. I think I'm good with tech, but not good like these guys. They make it easy. So we can focus that time on doing the shit that we like. We're just talking about training and the tech stuff. We live to the wonderful team here. Well, so thanks so much. So that's pretty much it. We'll see you soon. Thank you so much. Enjoy your weekend. Train hard. Stay juicy.